Hello YouTube, Tammy as a yarn crafter coming out today with a wood video for you guys. If you had seen my video Friday for Finish Object Friday, I talked a little bit about my head to toe winter knits. Sorry about that, I dropped my knitting needle. Head to toe winter knits book that I had misplaced, but I had a pretty good idea where it was. And yes, after I posted the video, I did move a few things and I went looking, and sure enough, it was on the floor like I thought. So, my head to toe winter knit book. It has been found. Well, I had not as of Friday started the project that you guys voted on last time, and it's the Fair Isle wrist warmers. And here's a picture of them. Now, as you can see in the picture, there's a thumb hole in them. I can tell you right now, I'm not doing a thumb hole in mine. I'm going to just sew it straight from top to bottom. I find with the thumb hole, it limits where they sit on your arm, like your wrist and your hands. So anyways, got looking at the materials and that information to start with. And it called for a light DK size 3 yarn. I have some in the house, but the problem is one's a cake, and it's, the perfect type of cakes that you could starts with one color and slowly graduates out to other colors, and none of the colors are repeats. I thought, well, that's not going to work. And then I have another cake, which is an ice cream cake, or skein, sorry, not a cake, and it's an ice cream yarn. But again, it's striping, but they're not very big stripes, and I'm not chopping that skein of yarn up and hope that whatever color I pick for, the main color of the body, I'm going to have enough of it. So I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to bump it up to a worsted for Burnett Super Value, or I do believe, let me just double check my band. Yep, Super Value yarn. Now, I then looked at the size of knitting needles they called for in the book. For the 3-weight yarn, it told me to use a size 6. 666, was it US or millimeters? Give me a moment to look at my thing. A US size 6 is what the pattern called for. So, any of my fellow yarny crafters out there are going to cringe at this next part, because even myself, I cringed when I did it. And I thought, okay, I went up one size on yarn, but I think I went down a size on my knitting needles. And what I mean by that is I have 2 containers on my table that hold my knitting needles. And in the one container, I have this yarn needle gauge. And because I was using knit needles, I just pulled this gauge out. I went measuring some of my needles. I myself prefer using circular needles just because I find with long, straight needles, if you're sitting at the table, they clink on the table a lot. They're harder to put in a smaller project bag, and this was a smaller project. So I measured out knit needles. I didn't have any 6s. Now, technically, yes, I should have gone up to a 7, which, yes, I do have a 7, but I went down to a 5, I think. And the reason I say that is I worked on them for a while Friday. Then Saturday I was working on them, and then I decided to clean off my little TV tray here where my computer sits, my laptop sits. Now, it sits on a 5-inch high metal rack thingy that's good for putting in your cupboards to give you, that extra shelf that you may not have to put, more dishes in there. And it's good airflow underneath my laptop. My battery's never warm. And the TV tray itself was getting cluttered. So I decided to do a little bit of tidying up, and as doing so, I came across 3 different crochet hooks that were sitting on my table. 2, I know what projects I used those in recently. 3rd one, I don't know how long it's been sitting there. So my crochet hooks go into this container here. And within here, I also have this needle gauge. So for the fun of it, like I said, the circulars measured the US 5 on this, but on this it measures a US 6. One of my gauges is wrong. So I was like, oh boy, what fun, right? So next time I go into the one store I go to shop at, Len's Mills, I'm going to see if I can find a staff and do a little experiment, bring these with me, and maybe see if she would mind opening, say, a size 4, 5, 6, and a 7 for me. And then I can gauge them all. And I'm hoping this one's the one that's correct. I like this one better because this one also gives you the letters, where this one's only the US and the millimeter sizes, where this one's US, millimeters, and the letters. So yeah, like I said, I don't know if I'm using a 5 or if I'm using a 6 because one gauge tells me one gauge tells me the other. So, how far did I get? Well, come Sunday evening when I finally put them away in my bag with the book, I could have finished them. I literally have one. As you can see, there's still everything needs to be sewn in together, and that's where I left it. But there's one, and yes, there is number 2. You're sitting there thinking, oh, Tammy, it's the same one. No, there's 2. Just I haven't sewn in my ends, and I haven't sewn it together. Like I said, I'm going to just sew it straight up because let me see if I can kind of wrap them around my wrists here so you can kind of get a feel what they're going to look like. I like them. I think they're kind of cute. Now, originally, the 3 cakes I caked up, the purple was going to be like a teal color, but I didn't want to play yarn chicken, and I had a funny feeling I was going to be maybe 2-3 rows away from finishing, and I was going to run out of yarn, so I changed it to this lilac color. But like I said, like if I put the hole down here like it calls for, then my thumb will be there. And I don't know, it's not so much I'm worried about having my hands covered, it's more my wrists. Because my winter jacket, like I'm 5'9", so my arm span is pretty wide for a female, I feel. And my jacket sleeves are not the longest. So in the winter months when I wear my jacket, a lot of times my wrists do get cold. So I love this as an idea because, it keeps the wrist warm. Now, if you're still watching the video, which I hope you are, I ask, could you mind going over to my homepage and quickly go onto my post? It's the 3rd post down. I have a little pick one kind of little questionnaire, and it's to help me pick my next project out of my book. Right now, I've only got 1 vote on 1 item. Even if you don't really care what I make, it's more fun entertainment for myself. And that way it will hopefully Friday, because I'm planning on having these done very shortly today, like sewn together the whole work, so that Friday I can do a Finish It Friday video. And I always like to, when I show you the finished project, show you what project got picked next out of the book and what projects are up for voting. So please, if you wouldn't mind, go over to my, like I said, my post, and it's there. It's like the 3rd thing down, very easy, quick to find, and click on 1, 2, 3, whichever one, just so I can see come Friday when I make my video what wins. So that's project 1 that I've been working on since Friday. Project 2. I know you guys have not seen her in a very long time. You're saying her. Who's her? Her is Sophie's Universe. I had got her back out. Now, start off with, when I showed her off last time, I was mid-row, which wasn't too bad because I did actually mark down on the paper what row I was on and whereabouts I was in the pattern. Actually, note where my stitch marker is. It's indicating I had the row done. Sorry about that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm on the 5th row since I showed her off last. So we're going to show you the sides that have the 5th row on. So here's what the short side looks like. Now if you go to the peach, actually, yeah, if you go down to the peach row, that's where I was when I showed you guys last. The stitch marker is right here. So I've done 5 rounds on, done my 5th row on this side. And this is what the long side, as they call it, looks like. And again, you go to the peach, work your way up. Now, this would have been the first long side. So second, on the second long side here, I was on the round doing these little rosebuds. And I originally learned how to crochet from Mikey over the Crochet Crowd back in 2012, I believe it was. Or it was 2013. I think it was 2012. I know I was living here by then. So the earliest it could have been was 2012. And when I learned from him, and he's always said, fake it till you make it kind of thing. Like you can budget, unless you give it to an expert crocheter or knitter, someone's not going to notice the mistake. And I will admit there is mistakes in this, because at one point I forgot to do in one of the corners, not this one though, but one of the corners, I forgot to do a post stitch. So when it came time to do a post stitch a few rounds later, instead of it being a double, I did it as a double treble to reach past the one I skipped or didn't put in down to the next one. And then there is other little tweaks I made, but to start off with, go back to this round here. See these beautiful peach leaves underneath the mint green rosebuds? Yeah, I was ready to put rosebuds on this row. And then I happened to notice the one peach leaf section right here was one of these ones right here was only one peach leaf instead of 2. I looked at it, I go, okay, you can't fake that. There's no way. So I had to rip out a whole round of stitches. And the rosebuds, there's a lot of stitches involved in each one. And there's 28 of them. So that's fine. I ripped it back. Now, one thing I can honestly say about this book that I think weighs about 4 pounds, I wish it was spiral bound and not, like just the regular bound, because it doesn't lay flat open. So each round, I take my tablet and I take pictures of all the written instructions and the photos of showing you what it's supposed to look like. But when I'm done a round, I delete those and then take the pictures for the next section. Well, when I realized I had to frog it back around and partway through the previous round, because it could have been near the end where I made the mistake. No, it was about the first half. So I had to retake the pictures for that row, because I couldn't remember exactly what I had to do. No big deal. Read over the instruction again. It came right back to me. Went ahead, finished the round. Then I started the round with the roses. And it went pretty good. There was really no... Oh, the only thing I cannot say changed about it now that I think about it, the roses itself worked out fine. But then on the short edge, as they like to call it, and as you can see, I've only got half of it. Okay, now I'm confused. Oh, since I'm working this way. Look at the wrong side, that's why. So, this little green section, mint green section here. One thing I can also say about this pattern, I've noticed on multiple rows, unless I'm totally reading it wrong, it's not 100% even on both sides. Like, for example, this mint green section I just showed you, it's 8 treble stitches. And right below it, there is a front post stitch. Well, they want you to do 4 of the trebles in the single crochet before that front post stitch, and 4 of them in the front post stitch, and then skip a stitch and then continue on. I don't like that. I thought, like, that's really uneven. Why don't you just put all 8 in that said front post stitch? That way it is in the center. So I did switch where I put those. And then the next round was easy enough to do what it wanted me to do, even though my stitches weren't technically in the right spot, because the one back post single crochet they wanted you to do, they only wanted you to do around the first 4 of this petal, flower, center, whatever we want to call it. Oh my god, that would have looked so stupid in my opinion. I'm sorry to the author and the designer and stuff, but that made no sense to me. I thought, I'm glad I went the way I did. Anytime I am going to make a change like this, I always look at the next set of instructions to see if it will work, because another change I made, which is on the current row I'm working on, is you got these half double crochets and chain 2s and you're skipping stitches. Well, technically those are supposed to be half double crochet, half double or back post half double crochets around single crochets. Besides the picot, I think that's the next stitch I hate doing, is back post or front post around single crochets. Doesn't matter if they're half doubles, they're singles, they're doubles, whatever the stitch is that I'm doing around a single. I really, like I said, picots are I think my top stitch I really don't like doing, and then it's the post around a single crochet. I don't like doing it. So again, I looked at my instructions for the next round, which would be round 62, because I am currently on 61, and you work into those 2 stitches you skipped with the chain, but the one that technically would have the post stitch, which I didn't do as that, you don't work in them again at any given time. So thank goodness, because I'm really, really hoping they don't show up late, like another row later, and I do got to work in them, because I don't know what I'm going to do then. We'll have to figure something out. But yeah, so I'll try and hold her up so you can see her. She's getting awfully big. She's becoming a big girl. We'll kind of go up this way, and then I'll turn it so that I go do the same idea if I do it corner to corner. Back to the bottom. And then if I were to go corner to corner, which the flowers in the corner are starting to look really cute now that I've got the start of the flower part. So there's one of the technically short rows, or the corner. And then I'm just going to pull it up so you can kind of see it from a different angle. But she's coming along pretty good. I honestly have to say I'm still very pleased with my choice of weight of yarn. I'm only using a 3-weight yarn, which is, gotta pull one of the bands out here, the Caron Skinny Cakes in Peach Mint is the color my son picked out of the options I gave him. Now at the moment, like I said, I'm on round 61, and I have this much left of cake number 2. So I'm thinking probably around 64. I'll be out of this cake somewhere 60, either 63 or 64. Because 61's not taking up a whole lot of yarn. I'm not 100% sure what 62 is going to take yet. For those of you who did do theirs in a worsted weight yarn, and literally changed their yarn every possibility that there was. Oh my goodness. Hat off to you. I'm impressed. Like, there's no way I can move my stitch marker. That's why I'm fiddling with it. There is no way I was doing that. Like, yeah, I've got tie-on or different parts where the row round ended, I couldn't restart it at the same spot. So I do have ends to sew in, but I could not see myself changing colors. How am I going to mark this? We are going to put it here, I guess. Not technically putting it in the last stitch, but I'm putting it close. So I put it in the chain 2 space because right now the last stitch is a back post single crochet. Anyways, hats off to those who are changing colors every time and are using a worsted weight yarn. I love you guys, but you're all crazy. I I was working on this earlier, I don't know, about 2 hours ago, and all of a sudden I felt like I was getting hot flashes. I thought, oh my god, this thing is getting so heavy. And it's like, I'm glad I'm not doing a worsted weight yarn, and I'm glad I'm not changing it every single round. Like, I know there are some sections where you do a few rounds before you change color. Yeah, there's a few sections that are like that, it looks like. Whereas, like, I'll show you this page here. What can I use to cover it? I guess my arm. But, like, for an example, it's going to be on that side. I'm sorry about that. But as you can see, there's a lot of blue in those sections. So you go a few rounds with the same color yarn. And I know there's, I think it's just those two that I can think of that a lot of the same color. But it's like, I couldn't see myself sewing in that many ends. And like I said, kudos to you, but you're all crazy. I really feel it. So anyways, so those are my 2 whips. Like I said, my wristers will be done probably within the next hour-ish. Even though I don't like to sew. Tomorrow, which is Thursday, things we're making Thursday. And like I said last week, we've got a new theme, which is bags. I now know which colorway I'm using because I am waiting for... Okay, well, I already have my colorway from Judy's Creations in Crochet. It's a group I make along. I participate in each month. And this year she's shown us butterfly pictures, and we got to draw colors from said butterfly. So I've got my color. I'm just waiting for the video, which should be out tomorrow, I think. I think she usually does her videos on the first of the month. And that's Nan's Creation Ideas. And what she is doing this month, mainly her by herself, because our partner in crime, as I like to call her, right now is not doing too well, and it's not my place to get into the details of what's going on with her. But what they decided to do this year and next year is Battle of the Stitches kind of idea. And when I made my cup cozy last month and my coaster the month before, both those stitches were picked from the 2 options I got those months. So, like I said, I know what color my bag's going to be in. I just haven't pulled the yarn down yet, but I do know what yarn I'm using. Don't know what size of a bag yet I'm going to make. And I don't know what stitch yet. And then, like I said, Friday, I will be showing you guys my wristers completed. And then hopefully be able to tell you what pattern I'm working next on, and we'll have to wait and see. And I'm hoping if it's a one particular pattern, I know already what yarn I want to use for it. The other two, I haven't really thought about what yarn I want to use. I just know the one, if it ends up winning, I can then also enter my project into the Great Cake-Off Wars that I participate in. I love doing that, two birds, one stone type of vibe. So we'll have to wait and see on Friday. Everyone have a great day.